day or two or 3 weeks since our last conversation here at Cultivate Weekly, and we are so glad that you are back with us. We are still in the middle of the race, right? And Stephanie knows a lot about races, these marathon events, and yet here we are. And we just wanted to show up today because we the last couple weeks I've been traveling, Steph's been working, and we just wanted a chance to get to jump on here and say hi. But today we're going to be talking about target audiences. Who are you talking to? And a lot of times when people jump on social media, they are thinking of nothing. No, they are thinking more of their product than they are of their customer. And a lot of times they get lost in the weeds of as far as thinking through what is some strategy that I could put behind who I'm talking to. And so today we're going to touch on a couple of ideas, hopefully that may help you find who your person is, but also to think about other types of segmenting your potential clients and customers, and how you can create content that speaks specifically to them and clearly to them. And so I'm excited to get started today. My name is Elizabeth Doss, and I am a social media consultant and content creator. I love helping brands and businesses reform their content using some strategies and other things to make sure that their thought leadership is heard, their voices are heard, and that people know who they are, what they do, and why they should trust them with their moolah. But I also create animated GIFs for social media, where I help brands and businesses have this other little animated marketing fun area to interact with their clients and customers in. And I am joined today with the illustrious Stephanie Gillis-Paulgard. It is so good to see you today. I feel like it's been years.
You know what? It does. Can you believe this is the last day of March? The first quarter's done, my friends. 2026 is flying by. It's funny. I was talking to my team yesterday, and I was saying, how is it that it's, tomorrow's the end of March, but it feels like I've already put in 9 months worth of work in the first quarter. That's kind of what it feels like as a, small business owner, that entrepreneur, that solopreneur, trying to do all of the things. So I'm excited for today's conversation. I'm always excited for every conversation I have with you, Elizabeth, because first of all, it's fun. And as our friend Richard would say, we don't think it's boring, so don't be boring, but have fun along the way. I'm Stephanie Gillis-Paulgard. I'm the founder and chief strategist of Take Roots Consulting. All things PR, marketing, media, all the talking, all the writing, all the things to help, whether it's nonprofits, for-profits, small business owners really come to life when they start to tell their story and reach out to those audiences that they're trying to reach across, yes, social media and more those traditional ways as well. So when we think about socials, and as you said, some people get on and they're talking to all the people and they are doing all the things. And so that's not really targeted. There's a part of that you can do and have some fun and just kind of show up like we're doing today and have those conversations. But when you're thinking about who it is that you want to work with, if you're a service-based business and that you want to draw them in, or if you're a product-based business and you need to think about who is it that's going to use my product? What's in it for them? What makes their life easier, etc. And so really getting clear, or that clarity around who it is you're talking to. The old saying holds true. If you're talking to everybody all the time, you're probably not talking to a lot of people, right? You talk to everybody, how many people are actually listening, showing up, engaging? And those are all signals to take a step back. There's pivots that have been happening, certainly since COVID and beyond. People are, maybe expanding their product offering. Maybe new products aren't targeted to the same audience as you once were, or maybe you have that main target, but now you're like, hey, there's an offshoot here. And Elizabeth, I want to throw it back to you, because in your world, as somebody who's certified Giphy artist, billions of views, working with lots of different companies, from real estate to authors to tutors to, I mean, it just goes on, restaurateurs, the list goes on and on. So when you're entering into a conversation with one of those clients, where do you start? Because you got to get super clear in order to be able to produce what it is that they're looking for in the land of gifts.
Right.
So where do you take them? What does that process look like? And how do you help them dial in to what is their target audience?
That is a great, great question. I of course have to start with what is the deliverable here? Like, what is the offer? What is someone giving you money for, or time, or energy? Like, what are they exchanging currency from them to you, that they're what are they getting in return for that? And when I do that, I start to map out, okay, and this is something I learned from Richard. Hi, Richard, if you're watching. Is that there's a difference between your client and your customer. Sometimes that avatar is what you call your target audience. Sometimes that person is the same person. If you are selling directly to the person that's going to use the product in the end, then that is the same entity. But there are many use cases where you may be selling to one person, but the end user is a completely different person. If you're only targeting the end user and not the person who's going to pay for it, you're you're going you're not going to find those people, because it's not, I mean, you might find them, but they're going to have to ask for permission from the person pulling the purse strings to be able to do that thing. And so I know I'm talking in generality. So let's take an example that I think this was even an example Richard had given to me way back when, is if a business that is a tutoring business. So the product and service that someone's paying for is that their child is receiving tutoring in math, English, Spanish, whatever. They're receiving this education piece. Unless and well, I'm not even going to go there. That child is not the one paying for the tutoring. In fact, they probably don't even want to do the tutoring, if I'm honest. And if you're only targeting to the child to do the job for this, one, they may not be allowed to be on social media. They're definitely not searching for help like in this area, unless there's a super awesome kid, which those do exist. But the idea of this is that the parent is actually the one who is purchasing the product that the child is then the beneficiary of. So your targeting should not be to a child helping their scores get better. No, you need to talk to the parent and say, if you see your child struggling in this, if you know if they had someone they could just bounce their ideas off of, or that they could have a conversation with, and the parent recognizing they're in over their head. I can't tell you how many of my parent friends are like, it's even their elementary school kids. They come home with homework and they're like, I cannot help you. I mean, I did graduate from high school, but I don't know how this math works. Your new math works. Math is math. Math it out. Anyway, but this idea of paying attention to what the product is, and then kind of actively mapping out the journey of that content. And so if I was a tutor that was doing that, I would be creating that type of content of a parent who just doesn't know what to do, more than I would be a child who doesn't know what to do. Now, you can still incorporate that, but in the through the eyes of a parent seeing a child not know what to do. You're not going straight for the child side of this. And there are other ways that this is applicable as well. But I hope that makes sense. So for me, it's really, you asked specifically about the gift side of things and how I do this. I really have to crawl into the business and start looking around. Like, I've got to know what the vernacular around it is. I've got to see whether or not you're just techno speaking people to death, or are you actually showing the value of what the transformation could be for someone after before they use your product and after they use your product? And honestly, if you only did your social media content of this concept of before someone worked with me and after someone worked with me, you would be set. You would have enough content to go. You would just have to keep running scenarios of what that looks like. Before this parent bought with me, their child was in a hot mess, struggling, crying, throwing tantrums, embarrassed at school, doesn't want to go to school, being made fun of. Like, you could go through this whole thing, and map that before picture, and then do an after picture of confidence and of better grades and of excitement about school, and seeing how it's like coming out in other areas and stuff. So anyway, those are a couple of my thoughts. I hope that makes sense to you. But Stephanie, I would be curious about that with you, because I know you've worked with a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And what kind of conversations are you trying to help them realize that you're looking towards this one thing, but what if you expanded that, and so I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just shout out to all the parents out there with the math
Right.
being hard.
Right.
Been there,
Right.
lived through it though,
Yeah.
lived through it, so it can be done. Tutoring was definitely one of those helpful things. Now, when we think back to the way I'm approaching, it's not that the conversations look that much different. The use case might be
Right.
slightly different, but it's always back to the basics. Who is it that we're trying to talk to? And then I've been known to ask a lot, and I mean a lot of questions. Because as soon as they start opening up, because they're going off of their own experience, right? Whatever that is and how they're showing up now, and maybe have never really, because again, as an entrepreneur, head down in the business. So when we take our head up, look around, and start to have those conversations and talk about strategy, going, all right, what is the outcome we're trying to achieve? And then it's that reverse engineering piece to start to bring them back into the why. Well, why does this product exist? Okay, why are you doing what you do? Okay, why? And if this happens, then what next? And so you're constantly trying to pull a thread and see what comes out of that conversation and delve deeper. Um, and again, I would also argue that it's not that different whether you're a service based business or a product based business. You still need to understand the why and how you are showing up as a business, that persona, that brand voice, all of those things are going to be important considerations as you try to reach out and connect in a very noisy place that is social media. The thing, again, I will always remind people of, is social media is rented, like it's free rented space, right? It's free, it's free, it's free, and it's a wonderful tool. But we have to be careful that we don't rely solely just on social media, and being able to bring out those messages to those audiences and thinking about building those lists so that we can communicate directly with them as we continue on. So it's always an integrated approach. It's always, at least those initial conversations, like you, digging in, really trying to understand, the very basics. And a lot of people do have some challenges in identifying very specifically who it is they're trying to talk to, because I think they're trying to talk to everybody, and you can't. You can do some very general stuff, and share your knowledge and position yourself as a thought leader or a subject matter expert. Yes, yes, yes. But when we think about you and your business and your products, this is, why I always say, like, the content needs to be a third, a third, and a third in how you're showing up. So that first third is that educational. Why does this exist? What's in it for you? Da, 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 da. The next part is inspirational. That content pillar of inspirational still can be educational. And then that last bit has to be about you and your business, the products, the services, because people at the end of the day, they buy from people, they connect with people. So we need to show up from that lens as well, because you can sell without selling. And that's sometimes hard for people to understand. But at the end of the day, nobody really wants to be sold to. They want to feel that your offering, whatever that is going to help them achieve something, do something differently, whether it's saving them time, saving them money, all of the things. And so we have to get down to that level of understanding to really be able to start developing content that resonates with that audience. Now, that was a lot and it did a lot of, but this is how our conversations go. Because if there's one thing I believe, Elizabeth, we always try to do is just get people to start thinking
Yes.
and
Yes.
asking these questions of themselves, when they're sitting down trying to think of, well, how am I going to show up this week or this month? Or how am I going to hit my sales goals? Or how am I going to, fill in the blank? There's lots of ways to approach it, but we've got to get right back down to the basics. Back over to you.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you just touched on, and that's this idea of thinking through potentially the pain points that someone's experiencing in this, and sometimes you have to kind of, like I was talking about, in disembodying yourself, because we get so focused on the things that we're saving someone, and you could, like, again, you can reverse engineer it. If you're saving someone time, show that. Like, tell that story of, okay, busy mom, she doesn't have time to make the grocery list, do all the stuff. Oh, you've created this app where she can plug in her meals, and it generates a grocery list for her. In fact, it goes on to order the groceries for her, and they just deliver them to her door. And so this idea of, how do you tell the story? But the point is, you're like, well, it saves people time. How? How does it save people time? And tell those stories over and over again. And this is something I learned from, I think it's Donald Miller's Story Brand. And if you guys can go check it out, it really helps you, like, refine the messaging behind your business, etc. But he was talking about finding the villain in the story. And sometimes it's easy to find, and you see it in these in these commercials for, like, cold medicine stuff. Like, the villain is the snot bubble, like, mucus guy monster, mucus monster. Anyway, but, like, and they're super gross and annoying and jerks and all this stuff. But they have taken and anthropomorphic. You're welcome for that word. That's your word for that's when you make something human that does not have human attributes. And they've made these things the villain that they go after. The problem, Stephanie, that I am seeing in some of the clients and some of the people that I'm looking at potentially working with, is they are villainizing the wrong things. And instead of villainizing the actual pain point that someone is dealing with, that their product or service is the solution for, they have these things they get snagged on about. I don't want to use these certain terms. I don't That's not who I'm targeting, even though you're cutting out a huge portion of the market when you say, I don't want to work with blah, 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 blah. And it's like, they have money too. Like, do you know what I mean? And so just being really careful, like, okay, uh okay, anyway, so don't villainize the wrong things. Like, even to the extent of people who don't want to be on camera. They don't want to show their body, they don't want to show their face, they don't want to tell you their voice, like, all this stuff. You are villainizing yourself by not showing up for your business on social media. And so it's like, this morning I'm like, okay, we're doing this. And so I was like, get it together and get over, because we've talked about doing this, not doing. I was like, you know what? I would rather show up, one, because I've missed Stephanie so much and I want to be here for you, than I care about having all the ducks in the row and all the things. But my point in this is you need to take a good look at what you're villainizing in your stuff. Like Stephanie, I was there was a client that I might be working with, and they were talking about like they're a local a brick and mortar place, but their business is can be paired very well with the other businesses in it. It's a type of business that it's not necessarily competing with the mechanic or the restaurant or the other stuff. Their business is kind of I said so. We've talked about partnering or highlighting the area. Say when you're coming, if when you make an appointment with us, don't forget you can stop by this boutique, this restaurant. If you're waiting, like and so just kind of highlighting things in the area. But when they say things like, "Well, oh, well, we've got a beef with them and a beef with them," I'm like, y'all, how you're because they thought they had a beef with this one thing, but the other people were like, yeah, let's do a collaborative thing. So now a highly targeted to their community loyal audience that's side by side is now cross pollinating, and people didn't know that they were there, and they didn't know that that was there. And so when you have these opportunities, I know I'm trying to get specific because I feel like this might stay in the nebulous if you don't get specific about stuff, but they had villainized that relationship. I don't know if they villainized like the people or the stuff, but they had made it seem like it was impossible to do. No, it's not impossible. And what does that look like in the context of you? If you had a bad interaction with a certain type of vendor and you say, I'm never going to work with those kinds of people ever again, well, you might be shooting yourself in the foot, because there may be some really awesome people that in that sphere that you're now cutting out from doing this. And so you need to check, and this is a really big word, Stephanie, but bear with me. You need to check your prejudices. And I'm not talking about, I mean, yes, there's extremes for that, but prejudice broken down means you are prejudging someone. And if you are prejudging an audience that you're refusing to talk to, you might be missing out on some of your most loyal, most evangelistic cheerleaders, loyal customers. And so I know that I went on a whole big rant, but what do you think about that? Finding the villain and the right villain and making sure that, anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, first of all, good on you for going forward and even suggesting that, because for me, when people talk about, oh, that's a competitor, or oh no, I worked with them before, and then they just fill it in. To your
Right.
point, they're predetermining what the outcome or result could be. And yes, I know we're human and we draw upon past experience, of course, but I would say that you're leaving opportunity on the table that you don't even know yet. And what is the worst case? They say, you know what, actually we just partnered up with such and such down the block, but next quarter, because we have this as part of our strategy, that every quarter we want to partner with a different business on the street and do a thing, and that would be great. Can we chat next month? Like, you have no idea if that conversation exists because you haven't allowed it to even enter into the four walls of your brain to say, oh, this is a possibility. Partnerships are so important, and whether that is somebody like yourself, Elizabeth, or myself, that have maybe been established for a bit of time, or the newbie that said, you know what, I'm leaning into what was once a hobby and I'm going all in now on my business. And what are some of those ways to find audiences? Well, partnerships are great. To your point, whether it's a restaurant, a boutique, a hair salon, a bookstore, you name it, go down the list. Well, what's your offering? Hey, do a cool event, do an opportunity. Like, there's lots of things that I think people just put their hand up and go, no, before they even allow themselves to contemplate. And I do think that that's the exciting part of what we get to do when we bring those ideas forward. And, I've sat in those conversations where the light bulbs start to go off and they then understand the possibility. And that's all you need to believe in, is that there's a possibility of, hey, well, what if we did it like this? It doesn't take a lot of extra time, but you need to have that commitment to understanding what that conversation could look like. And it's not, if I may offer up before I pass it back to you, Elizabeth, I know as business owners, everybody's got their goals. And I kind of threw it out there, earlier in the conversation, whether it's their sales targets, or they want to sign this many more clients, whatever that is. But please, I just encourage everyone to maybe not always think about it from that perspective, that think about it from what can you offer when you come from a place of service. It just lands differently. And so, yes, you yourself have these sales targets or these client goals, whatever that is. But when you come into a conversation knowing, how can I be of service to you? This is what I'm doing. You're probably going to get a different response, whether that's how you show up on social media or in a coffee shop, in a one-on-one, a potential client meeting, a discovery call, whatever that is. And you can have all of the reasons and proof, social proof included, of why someone should work with you. That's great. People want to know that, and you should share that. But when we only come from a sales or salesy type focus, that content, the way you show up, is going to land differently than when you come from a place of service. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Oh, it's so true. We talked a lot about reverse engineering today, and one great place to find your target audience is to send a survey to your favorite clients, the people that you've enjoyed working with the most, and ask them, why did you choose me? Why did you work with me? What did you get out of this relationship? Like, what have you seen? What have been the results and the things you've seen? And then start targeting that person. Because, like, for me, I, of course, love small businesses and love helping new entrepreneurs. But and so it's a great uh, Richard always puts it as carbon offsetting, where it's like basically your pro bono help. You use your expertise because they're not going to pay you much or whatever. But if I'm needing to pay the bills, then I need to target people that can actually pay me for my services. And so a lot of times, while I love helping small businesses, my actual target audience is someone who sees what I'm doing, understands it, will give me the freedom and not villainize everything that I'm trying to create for them, and all those things. And so, how can I keep telling the story of interacting with that type of client and getting to work on those types of projects that might attract someone who is adjacent to that conversation? So I hope that makes sense. Like, you can go and ask your favorites of your audience for some insight, or go or do an autopsy on that. Because, like, if that project's ended or whatever, go back to it and say, okay, what was it about working with this client that I really enjoyed, and how could I start that Venn diagram of, I liked this particular client and this is the product that I'm offering, and that sweet spot in the middle of how can I create content that finds that person, to be able to do this. So, it's like, Steph, you were talking about this, and I'll let you close us out today with this. But you were saying, if you're talking to everybody, if you say, oh, well, my product's for everyone, and so you're talking to everybody, you're actually talking to no one. And I would love for you to give us those final thoughts for the day.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's true. I love the postmortem. I love the notion of
postmortem is so much better than autopsy.
Oh, well, yeah, but I knew what you were saying. I knew what you were saying.
Reminds me of
like
that
postmortem, a debrief, whatever we want to call these things, right?
That song from Music and Lyrics where he's like, love autopsy. It was Hugh Grant singing. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Squirrel, back to you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But yes, a postmortem, a debrief, or whatever it is. And I also love the survey just the capture of afterwards, right? So no different than when you're asking, and you should be. If you're not, I'll leave you with this piece of homework as you're thinking about your target audience, and then you're looking at who you're working with now, and you're doing testimonials, or you're maybe haven't asked. Same thing. You can also build that into the survey. That tell us a little bit about the experience. Da 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 da. If you were, talking to somebody in a coffee shop and they needed X service or X product that, I offer, how would you talk about, me or my work or my product or my service or whatever that is? Building that all out. Wow, what a wealth of knowledge. Some people get nervous about feedback because they go, oh my gosh, but what if it's not great? What do you mean? It's feedback. It's what you do with it that matters. So if maybe you weren't on your game and you didn't, in your opinion, hit it out of the park, but you still delivered all the outcomes, and you know that there's learnings in there, and your client says the same thing, it was great. We could have done X. Well, like, great. Thank you for sharing that with me. The more you learn about it and then take it into your business, and then figure out what you can do with it to level up, essentially. We should always be looking at ways to improve, right? Progress, little bits of progress every day is still progress. You don't need to solve all the world's problems in one day, but you can break this down. And this is why that reverse engineering concept can be so useful in strategic, planning or brainstorming sessions, is to be able to work back from something. Love this conversation. I just don't think we ever show up with nothing to say. Even when we think we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? It always just reminds me again why I love what I do. And being able to have those conversations with people so that you start to see those light bulb moments. It's actually an honor, to get to do that, or to be entrusted by someone that brings you into their circle, that brings you into, their baby, their business, and allows you the opportunity to help. I mean, how cool is that, that we get to show up and do that every day? So maybe that's just another way to think about what you do and what you offer, not just Elizabeth and I, but those that are here joining us now, or maybe watching it on a replay. If that's the one thing that you need to be reminded of today, just think about how lucky and grateful you should be to work with the clients that you already work with. And now how will you take that one step further? So I do not have a cup to do my cups up, but I will still say cups up. Thank you, Elizabeth. At least one of us is today. Thank you for the conversation. We hope that you come back and join us. We do try and show up every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Mountain. If you have questions, comments, you can always drop them to us, whether it's via a DM or right here on the live. Drop it in the comment as a topic or a challenge that you're having right now, and we will take it into a future conversation. So go out, have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you back here on Cultivate soon.